An explosion tears through the building before dawn. The corridor buckles. Plaster bursts outward. A body slams against the wall and drops beside him. The sound is heavy. Final. Blood pushes through torn fabric and spreads across gray dust. No movement. Only ringing. The air thickens instantly. Smoke crawls along the ceiling and sinks. Breathing tastes like iron and burned stone. Eyes sting. The floor trembles again. Another blast hits closer. The ceiling cracks open in thin, jagged lines. Powder falls across shoulders and helmet. Light flickers and dies. The corridor sinks into a dim orange haze. A voice cuts through the ringing. An order, move. The word does not echo. It strikes. Boots shift. Knees feel stiff. Almost detached. The rifle drags at the arms like dead weight. Sweat runs cold down the spine despite the heat. A second body lies twisted against the wall, face turned upward, eyes open, but empty. Dust settles across unmoving lashes. No time. Another detonation shakes the stairwell ahead. The building groans deep inside its frame. Brick dust floats in thick clouds, turning the air into something chewable. The voice repeats the command. Forward. Another order. The stairwell has partially collapsed. Concrete steps broken. Rebar exposed like snapped bone. Each footstep lands carefully, testing weight. Small stones slide downward with every movement. Outside, flashes of light pulse through shattered windows. Orange, white, then darkness again. A burst of gunfire snaps somewhere close. Sharp cracks, echoing between buildings. Not distant, not far enough. The heart pounds harder now. Not from fear alone, from realization. The street waits beyond the doorway. The rifle grip slips slightly in damp hands. Fingers adjust. Grip tightens again. Breathing turns shallow. Controlled. Mechanical. Halfway down the stairwell, another impact slams into the building's lower floor. The structure jolts. Dust explodes upward from beneath. For a moment, balance falters. One hand catches the wall. The voice above shouts again. Move. No argument. No question. The entrance door hangs open, torn from its hinges. Outside, air pours in thick and hot. The smell changes. Burning fuel, scorched wood, sewage, something sweet and rotten beneath it all. Boots cross the threshold. The street is no longer a street. Craters split the pavement. Tram wires hang low and twisted. Windows stare hollow and black. Smoke drifts across broken stone like low fog. Another explosion hits somewhere down the block. The ground jumps. A pressure wave slams against the chest. Dust fills the mouth. Forward. No time to look back at the bodies in the corridor. No time to think about names. The building already feels distant, as if belonging to another life only minutes ago. Orders continue from behind. Push ahead. Reach the next position. Hold. The word lingers in the mind. Hold. Yet the city does not feel holdable. A tank engine growls somewhere through the smoke, not visible, only vibration through rubble. Another burst of gunfire cracks from an unseen corner. Brick chips spray from a wall ahead. Every step forward feels like stepping into open firelight. The sky above Berlin glows faint and dirty through layers of smoke. Dawn tries to break through but fails. Another order carries through the haze. Advance. And so the movement continues, away from the fallen body, away from the last place that felt like shelter, into the roar of a city tearing itself apart. The street does not quiet after the first advance. The city breathes in artillery. Shells arrive without rhythm. One lands far, another lands close. The air never fully settles. Dust hangs permanently between buildings, turning distance into blur. Boots move through broken pavement. Each step lands on glass, brick, splintered wood. The soles feel thin against the ground, as if rubble could pierce through at any moment. A distant impact shakes loose debris from a facade above. Small fragments rain down. Shoulders tense automatically now, no flinch. Only tightening. The body adjusts to the pattern. Whistle, pause, detonation, whistle, pause. The mind begins to count between sounds. Counting becomes habit. Counting becomes protection. 3 seconds. 4. Too short. A shell lands at the end of the block. The pressure hits the chest like a hammer. Breath leaves in a single forced gasp. Knees buckle but hold. The ringing never fully fades. It sits inside the skull like trapped metal. Another burst of gunfire cracks from somewhere ahead. Short, sharp, not aimed, just constant. The rifle rests heavy in the hands. Arms ache from holding it ready for too long. Sweat dries into stiff salt across the collar. The tongue sticks to the roof of the mouth. No water. The mouth tastes of smoke and brick dust. A doorway offers brief cover. Inside, shadows smell of damp wood and old rot. The air feels thicker, harder to breathe. Outside feels exposed. Inside feels suffocating. No comfort either way. A scream echoes down the street. Cut short. Silence for half a breath. Then another blast. The body no longer jolts at every impact. Reactions slow. Movements become smaller, tighter, economical. Head lowers instinctively at every whistle. Shoulders rise automatically. The nervous system learns the rhythm. A tank engine grinds somewhere beyond the smoke. The vibration hums through the soles of the boots. Hard to tell distance. Hard to tell direction. Fatigue creeps into the legs. Calves burn from constant tension. The back aches from crouching. Eyes sting from lack of sleep. Blinking feels heavy. Daylight tries to push through the haze. The sky remains dull and colorless. Another order comes from somewhere behind. Short. Urgent. Move to the next building. The word does not shock anymore. It weighs. Steps resume. Slower now. Deliberate. Past a tram car split open like a carcass. Past a crater filled with murky water, reflecting smoke instead of sky. The counting continues between whistles. 3 seconds. 4. 5. A longer pause this time. Relief almost begins, then a violent detonation closer than before. The shockwave slams dust into the face. Vision blanks white for half a heartbeat. When sight returns, the street looks the same. Ruined, endless. The noise does not stop. It settles inside the chest, inside the bones, until silence feels unnatural. And somewhere in that constant thunder, something shifts. Fear becomes tension. Tension becomes endurance. Endurance becomes numbness. A cellar door slams shut above. Darkness settles fast. The space smells of mold, sweat, and old potatoes. Air barely moves. Breathing grows heavier inside the confined air. Dust drifts down from the ceiling with every distant impact. The floor is cold stone. Knees press into it. Back rests against a damp wall. The rifle lies across the lap, heavier now, as if soaked in gravity. Outside, the city continues in artillery bursts. The sound reaches the cellar muffled but constant. Each detonation shakes loose fine grains of plaster that fall into hair and onto shoulders. Light filters in through a crack in the boarded window. Thin, weak. Barely enough to see faces. Faces in silence. No one speaks loudly. Words stay low, uncertain. Rumors pass in whispers. Encirclement. Relief coming. No relief coming. Each version sounds equally fragile. Another distant blast. The ceiling trembles. Breathing slows, but the heart does not. The heart keeps pace with memory. Corridor. Blood, the body on the floor. Time begins to stretch. Minutes feel long enough to measure in breaths. The mind drifts, then snaps back at every vibration through the walls. A cough breaks the stillness. Then another. Someone shifts position. Boots scrape softly against stone. Hunger arrives quietly. A dull pull in the stomach. Throat dry again. No water passed around this time. Nothing to share. Outside, a burst of gunfire rattles across the street. Closer than before. Not random. Sustained. The cellar feels smaller. Air grows thinner with each exhale. The smell of smoke seeps through cracks in the wood above. Another order filters down from somewhere upstairs. Prepare to move. The word does not inspire. It interrupts. The body resists the idea of standing again. Legs feel stiff. Muscles cooled by stillness. Fatigue settles deep in the joints. A distant detonation hits harder than the rest. The entire cellar shakes. Dust pours from the beams. One of the hanging boards falls, slamming onto the floor. Silence follows. Not the absence of sound, just a pause between impacts. In that pause, doubt enters. How long can this continue? No answer. Boots scrape again. Weight shifts forward. Hands tighten around the rifle. The cellar door opens. Light spills in, harsh and gray. The waiting ends. Movement begins again. The street outside looks narrower than before. Smoke hangs lower. The air feels thicker, harder to push through. Each breath drags heat into the lungs. A shape lies ahead near a shattered doorway. Boots slow. The uniform is familiar. The torn sleeve. The mud on the collar. Recognition arrives before thought does. A body on its side. Still, no gunfire in this exact second. No explosion. Only the distant echo of artillery rolling somewhere beyond the buildings. Kneeling happens without planning. Gloved fingers touch fabric. Cold already setting in beneath the dust. Eyes remain open, staring past the street. Past the smoke. No reaction to voice. No reaction at all. Another impact shakes the pavement. Brick chips fall from above. The moment breaks, but the body does not move. A memory surfaces. Shared rations, shared cigarettes, shared silence in another cellar hours ago. That memory feels older than it should. Weight presses into the chest, not from debris, from absence. A shout from down the block. Another order. Advance. The word lands flat. Hands hesitate before releasing the shoulder. The rifle slips slightly, then steadies again. Standing feels heavier this time. Legs resist. Vision narrows around the fallen shape. No time. The street begins to crack with gunfire again. Bullets strike brick and stone, sending fragments across the pavement. Instinct overrides grief. Body lowers. Movement resumes. But something has shifted. Every step forward now carries the image behind. The open eyes. The unmoving chest. Another detonation shakes the block. A cloud of dust erases the doorway for a moment. When it clears, the body is half covered in debris. The city does not pause for loss. Noise swallows everything. Breathing turns sharper, faster. Guilt moves in quietly. Why that body? Why not this one? No answer rises. The next building offers partial cover. The wall is warm from nearby fires. Back presses against it. Head leans briefly into brick. A tremor runs through the hands, not from cold, from weight. Another order echoes across the street. Advance. Boots push off the wall. The body remains where it fell, and the space beside him feels permanently empty. Movement continues, but without urgency. The street feels endless now. Not because of distance, because of repetition. Rubble, smoke, craters, the same broken shapes again and again. Legs feel heavier with each step. Calves burn, knees stiffen, the rifle drags at the shoulders like wet iron. Hunger sharpens into pain. The stomach twists, then settles into a hollow ache. Lips crack. The tongue sticks dry against the teeth. Another distant explosion rolls through the city. The body barely reacts. A whistle in the sky. Pause. Detonation. Dust lifts, then falls again. No flinch this time. Only a blink. Inside a gutted apartment building, walls lean inward at strange angles. Wallpaper hangs in torn strips. A table stands overturned. A photograph lies face down in ash. Boots step around it. The smell changes from smoke to something thicker. Burned wood mixed with rot. The air feels stale, trapped. A burst of gunfire echoes somewhere beyond the building. Close enough to matter. Far enough to delay. The body lowers behind a fractured wall. The position feels automatic now. Knees bend without command. The rifle rises without thought. Hands tremble. Not from fear. From exhaustion. Fingers tighten harder to hide the shaking. Another order travels through the hallway. Hold here. Wait for movement. Hold. The word feels different now. Not strength, not resolve, just delay. Eyes close for a fraction of a second too long. Darkness presses inward. When they open again, vision swims slightly before clearing. Sleep tries to intrude even while standing. Outside, a tank engine hums somewhere unseen. The vibration travels through the floorboards like distant thunder. Another impact hits the next block. The building shudders. Dust falls in thin streams from the ceiling. No surge of adrenaline follows. Only fatigue. The body feels mechanical. Step, crouch, aim, breathe, repeat. A broken mirror leans against the wall nearby. A reflection catches briefly. Gray face, hollow eyes, dust caked into lines of sweat. Recognition feels distant. Another whistle. Another blast. The chest rises and falls slower now. The heartbeat no longer races. It endures. Outside, daylight fades into a dim, smoky evening. Hard to tell when day ends anymore. Time blends into noise. The rifle remains in hand. But the reason feels thinner. Survival shrinks into hours. Not victory, not belief. Just the next hour. Then the next. The city keeps burning. And something inside begins to empty. Night settles without stars. Smoke erases the sky. Firelight pulses against low clouds, turning darkness into a dull red glow. The city no longer roars. It grinds. Movement slows between ruined buildings. Boots drag more than step. The rifle hangs lower now, barrel angled toward broken stone. Another distant explosion rolls across the blocks. The body barely registers it. A doorway offers shelter. Inside, walls are scorched black, the ceiling half gone. Wind moves through exposed beams with a hollow sound. Breathing feels shallow, not from panic, from depletion. A flare rises somewhere beyond the street. White light floods the ruins for a moment. Every shadow sharpens. Every crack in the pavement becomes visible. Then darkness returns. A burst of gunfire rattles in the distance. Short, uncertain, not the sharp rhythm from earlier. More scattered now. The city sounds tired. Leaning against a fractured wall, the body slides slowly downward until sitting on cold debris. The rifle rests across the knees. Hands remain wrapped around it out of habit, not intention. Silence stretches longer between impacts. Not peace, just gaps. A tank engine hums faintly somewhere far away, then fades. No clear direction, no visible line anymore. Another order echoes faintly through the night. Hard to tell from where. Hard to tell if meant for this position at all. The word does not land. It passes through. Breathing slows. Shoulders sink. The weight carried since the first explosion feels distant now, like something that happened to someone else. Images surface uninvited. The corridor, the blood on gray dust, open eyes in the street. They arrive without sharpness, edges softened. Another detonation shakes the far end of the block. The building trembles slightly. No flinch, only awareness. The city feels less like a battlefield now, and more like an empty shell. Burned windows stare outward without glass. Doors hang open without rooms behind them. The rifle feels colder. Hands loosen slightly. No cheering, no triumph. No clear end in sight. Just absence. The firelight flickers across broken walls. Smoke drifts slowly past the doorway. The night holds everything in a muted red haze. Breathing continues. Heartbeat continues. But something essential has drained away. The noise fades further into the distance. And inside the ruins of Berlin, only the hollow remains.